you'll see a world of great imagination. We'll do things on the fly, we'll have a great time, and you will love it. Welcome to Season 2 of Strengths on Fire, the Great Strengths Debate.
Think you know Clifton's strengths? Think again.
This season, we're breaking down the biggest myths,
Challenging conventional wisdom.
and showing you how strengths actually show up in leadership, life, and the messy middle of real work.
Sarah, you want to light these strengths on fire?
Let's light it up.
I cannot believe, Sarah, we're actually online today. I can't believe it happened.
It has been like technical difficulty land.
It's been brutal for me. I joked with you, I'm on my third modem in 3 days from my internet provider. Totally true. I actually have my own modem, which I put in today.
Yeah,
And
none of that means anything to me, but it sounds
know,
like a really annoying problem.
Because your husband isn't in the room with you where he's
yes,
like,
last
oh,
week
I
when I was
sympathize.
having the technical difficulties, I was like, Corey, help me. And he was like, oh my God, have you ever restarted your computer? And I was like, I mean, I have, but like when I don't remember, are you supposed to do that frequently? He's like, yes, and close a tab. Why do you have so many things open at one time? You literally have everything running. And I was like, I don't know. The computer runs me. I don't run it.
It sounds as if you're living in my household with my wife sometimes, where she's like, she got me up the other day and said, the internet's down, and I need to print some stuff, so get up at 5:45 in the morning.
Chop, chop. Aaron,
Chop.
boys.
Hey,
chop,
get going.
chop. Let's go.
Get moving. And I was like, well, we mentioned our other halves, so let me ask you a different question today.
Okay.
A little funny about other halves. When we weren't with other halves, or even thinking about it now, if your strengths were a dating profile, how would you sell your top 5 to a potential date?
Come with me and you'll see a world of great imagination. We'll do things on the fly, we'll have a great time, and you will... Wow, I really went for that. Really did.
You dug in on that. And I always love it when you sing. I know you always tell me I'm not a singer. I love it when you sing.
I'm not a singer.
So.
Thank you. I love that someone loves it because I love doing it, whether it's good or not. But positivity, woo, communication, harmony, and activator. Just really felt like, you're going to have a good time. You're safe here. The water's warm. I'm going to avoid fights with you, especially in the beginning, which will cause issues later on in our relationship. But we can, do what you want. I don't care. Wherever we go, it's cool. I'm easy to get along with,
That's
I am
fair.
going to bend over backwards to try to appease you because I haven't had therapy yet to tell me that I should be different. That's what the dating profile
Not
based
this
on my
therapy
strengths would
yet,
be.
right? I've had other therapy yes, sure. That makes total sense. Oh, that's
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 what
a good
about
sales
you?
pitch. That's a great sales pitch. I do like
of
the sales pitch.
course.
So,
Like,
I think if I was gonna step in from a dating side, I might say, hey, it's similar to yours because we both lead in the relationship domains, but I would tell you that it's all about you. It's all about me and you and how we build that together, right? How can I help develop and push? How can I see the unique things that you bring to yourself in the relationship? All of those things are tied directly into my 1 and 2 really significantly. And don't worry, I'll be the life of the party with my woo kicking in at a lot of things. And if we're having fun with a group, don't worry, I'm going to help push that along. So
absolutely.
I would probably push it. I've had people joke with me that this should be a dating system.
I don't know, though. Do you think it could be? Because it's never that cut and dry when I've seen people in relationship. Sometimes you get people who are opposites and that really works for them. And sometimes it really doesn't work. And then they're divorced. They're like, you want to know why we're divorced? Let's point to the things we're at my top and we're at their bottom.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would tell you, Renee and I are very opposite. High strategic, me all relationship. And those things that you loved about them early on.
Yeah, it's drive you crazy later.
Those are the things, right?
Which is like how it is with everything, whether it's strengths or not,
Absolutely.
You're like, oh my God, you're so analytical. And then later you're like, why are you so analytical? You don't even care about feelings. Not that I have personal experience with that at all. That's just like hypothetical.
No, once the pool's built, the GC won't care in the back, Corey. So why, what's going on?
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, you'd have to be a listener of multiple episodes to get that joke. So
that's exactly right. Now, we have a guest today. I'm really curious of his answer. And also, I know almost nothing about our guest today, which is quite unusual. I feel like I usually know fairly intimately a lot about guests in some way or another. And today we have a guest that I don't know that much about. So I don't even know, are you married? Are you partnered? Are you single? I know nothing about you, Jamal.
And Jamal, before you jump in, we should point out to our listeners, I don't know anything about you. So generally we have on clients, coaches, people we have a long-term relationship. People are like, oh, they're all getting together. We've never met you. So
I'm happy to be the mystery box.
5 minutes before this, we're excited.
We're excited. Tell us everything.
So Jamal, hit us with your top 10, but then give us the essential stuff too. Give us the details.
Absolutely. First of all, Sarah, I appreciate you jumping in the song. We might have to do a karaoke night when we all meet in person and make this happen. Just FYI, that's one of my favorite things to do. Never met a stage I didn't like. So going along with the never met a stage I didn't like, my top 10: adaptability, maximizer, communication, activator, ideation, positivity, command, competition, woo, and relator. And that woo later at the bottom is always a fun combo.
Ooh, relator. I love it. Okay, so I love this because you come in with 6 influencing themes. That's right, friends. You heard that right. 3 relationship building, 1 strategic thinking. We won't mention the missing purple of it all. But we know you have to get things done. You have to get things done. So give us a little bit about you. Let us, the audience, get to know you, and let us get to know you as well.
Yeah, I love the conversation starting around the dating profile and relationships. I've been married to my wonderful wife, Tia, for 13 years, been together for 18 or more. I don't know. It's early 2000s. We'll let everyone else do the math.
Got it.
And
Yep.
in the spirit of Maximizer, one of the funniest things is my wife calls me a 100%er. Because when I'm doing something, I'm either all in or all out. There's never lukewarm. There's never one toe in. If I'm committed, I pour everything into it, and it might take over my life. And if I'm not committed or I'm not interested, not happening. So that's kind of my relationship philosophy too. If it were a dating profile, it's like, if you're the one, then you're the one. I'm all in. And if you're not, we can just leave now.
See you later.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. Makes that quick. And you mentioned your woo relator. We just did an episode woo versus relator. Like you, I happen to have both of them in my top 10. So you and I share that component where it was, I thought it was stupendous, Sarah, where we talked about high woo with you and high relator with someone else. Somebody ended up calling us, what was it? The glitter-covered octopus. Jamal.
Yes.
The glitter draws you in on the woo, and then the relator grabs you with the suction cups and locks you on. So how does that resonate with your relationship side?
I would say that might be it. I'm more of a, if I had to pick like an animal or kingdom analogy, I think I'm more of like a honeybee. Like I'm kind of a pollinator. Ooh. So like if you go to an event or something, I'm going to pollinate all around the room and connect with a whole bunch of people. And at the end, we'll all come back to the hive with the 4 people I thought were the coolest people to hang out with. Yeah. So I will end up closing out the event. I had an event last night and they literally had to kick us out because I'm always that person. Where you can't get enough woo, and then the final 4 of us who really had a lot in common will just kind of be ushered out of the room by security while everyone's trying to clean up.
Now, I would be interested if you're the 2 of you, and this is why I love strengths, because it's so dynamic on how strengths always look different. And I would be interested because you both have woo relator. But Jamal, you come at it with more influencing themes, and Bill, you come at it with more relationship building themes. So I'd be interested in like the nuance of how your woo relators like show up in the world, if those dominant domains actually influence the outcome of how those 2 look in the world.
Yeah, I guess maybe I'll start that off, Jamal, with from a relationship point of view. I think if I'm wooing and relating, I have the propensity to get my feelings hurt because of my high relationship themes. So if I'm looking at the downside of the woo relator, it is like you, I'm pollinating and I'm working a room. But if I get shoved away from certain groups, or if I even misperceive that somebody said something in a way where, hey, you were, I don't know what you're up to or where you're going, I can take that really hard. That becomes really difficult for me, or I try to reintroduce and build that up. For a long time, I've had that problem. So once I've realized that it's all my relationship themes and that developer individualization, I might be overreading that situation. And if I'm not, I'm definitely overreading the parts of it, and just go sort it out. Build the relationship and get to it. From the relationship side, when my woo relators work in a room, that's how I come at it. Jamal, I'm going to guess from that influencing side, you don't suffer from the hey, I'm a little upset right now that somebody may have pushed me off a little bit. You're more, I'm going to find the 4 that mean the most to me.
Yeah, it's just a sorting process for me. So I don't mind those early stages. If we have a quick chat, doesn't quite align, good to meet you, we'll keep it moving. And if we have a good chat and we feel like there's something in common, one of my first things, because of that woo with a relator, if I see there's potential for us to know each other beyond today, it's how do I pour into this? You do this thing, who can I connect you to that maybe I just met across the room? Let me go and make an introduction for you right now and start adding value to the relationship, because I see that we can at least get, beyond that outer circle in a little bit. You can at least be an acquaintance. Let's pour in a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, this is so interesting. Now, Jamal, just for our information and the audience, you're a certified Clifton Strengths coach. Tell us a little bit about the work that you do in the world.
Absolutely. So with all of my influencing themes, adaptability number one, my focus area tends to be places of transformation and change. So I work with teams or individuals when they're on the verge of doing something different or new, or they feel like they're stuck and they need that kind of push to transform. So I'm always kind of attracted to something that's in the process of like metamorphosis, and let me jump in and help you get fully out of that cocoon and become who you're supposed to become. So I work with teams. I like to say that I'm performance centric, but industry agnostic. I've worked in a lot of different industries, from the nonprofit and government space all the way into financial services and tech. So I've had that experience. And one thing that I know is true, performance is universal. So I have a chance to work with folks in all of those walks of life, and love the individual coaching. For entrepreneurs are awesome to work with, but there's nothing better than making a team gel a little bit better. So that's where the magic happens.
Yeah.
So you like both the individual and the team coaching, but it sounds like you gravitate towards the team, larger team. How big of groups do you go up to? Where are you generally in your flow, or where do you strive at your best?
It really depends. I would say at my best, those mid-sized groups where I can literally know everybody in the room, and we can have bring that woo later to life, right? And get around and connect with everybody. And I remember individual stories that they're talking about in each one of the workshops. That's kind of the sweet spot. But I also said that I never met a stage I didn't like. So if you give me a room of, I've got a workshop next week with 45, we can go as big as we need to. I love, emceeing events too. So you give me a room of 300, that's fine. But that's not a workshop. I mean, that would be a little bit unwieldy.
Yeah, but I can see those influencing themes. Loving that. Now, as we transition to think about our topic today in the Great Strengths debate is Maximizer versus perfectionism. Where is the line? And you come at us not only with Maximizer at 2, but with 6 influencing themes, which I have to imagine really play into that. So before we get into the debate question, I'm curious, besides, you sort of said your wife describes you as all in or all out, how else would you describe your Maximizer?
My Maximizer is, it's the filter that almost won't let me engage if something is bad. Like if I don't see the potential for greatness in something, I will ignore it completely. So I spent a long time working in the marketing space, and if someone brought something to me that I felt like would never get to, being publishing ready, I'd rather throw it out. Let's rip it up and let's start over from scratch. I don't want to be bothered with mediocrity and go from this is kind of terrible to now it's okay. I struggle to engage there. That's one of those.
That actually ties directly into the original definition for Maximizer within the Gallup world, which is, man, if you have a system like this, they're going to take it to here. Mm-hmm. But if you don't have the system, if this doesn't exist, then they're not going to build it. Like if I don't see it, I can't get it to that next level.
Yeah.
right?
Come back when you're ready and committed.
I have heard people that I coach, because I don't have Maximizer, so I'm really coming into this as a curious Kathy.
You're missing out.
Um, I have heard people that I coach sometimes with Maximizer say they're not great at starting things, but they can take something that's been started and blow it up. Do you suffer from that or benefit from that? How are you when it comes to like starting from scratch?
See, I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum.
Okay.
I have high activator. So
Uh-huh.
I'm okay with starting, but my starting, I don't feel comfortable with the roughest of a rough draft. Like I'm not going to bring it to you until I feel it's near final and I'm going to give you that as the first draft. So that's
Okay.
how starting shows up for me. So I'll do a lot of the processing in my head, put things together, and by the time I bring it to somebody who I'm collaborating with, it's beyond an outline or a very rough draft. It is near final and it needs refinement. It doesn't necessarily need to be started from building blocks.
Do you have any issues getting I don't know how I want to say this. I'm thinking about your ideation. So I'm thinking about you starting and thinking, oh, we could do this, this, and this. I'm sort of thinking like, do you have like momentum? Like, I want to do this because you're looking to get that rough draft near perfect before you pass it along. Do you find yourself iterating a lot at the beginning with ideation, or how does that play into it?
Yeah, exactly that. I will iterate a lot and I'll have something that I think is set and I'll think of something that's a little bit better and say I can make this a little bit better and plug it in and keep plugging it in and keep iterating. So it can be a challenge that I've recognized in myself. And I partnered with a writer years ago, a friend of mine, and he gave me his philosophy that I started to carry with me as my maximizer. And he said when he's writing something, he has to ask himself at a certain point, am I making this better or am I just making it different?
Ooh.
And if I'm just making it different, it's time to publish and move forward. If I'm making it better and there's still time available, let's get to that mountaintop. Let's get a little bit better. But let's publish it if it's just change for change's sake.
So then going into the debate question, do you find that your maximizer pushes for perfectionism? And I mean, it sounds like you've already maybe worked on some strategies, better or different. Like, how has that come into play over your life?
Well, and you brought up too that your activator and maximizer, you'll start it, but you will not give it to me until you have taken it out of that rough draft. It's got to be a semi-polished diamond. This is a perfect lead in, Sarah. Really well done to that question, right? What is perfectionism versus maximizer for you?
I mean, it is a perennial struggle. Just candidly, maximizer. It's a lens that I can't turn off. It's not something that's selective for me. I have to strive for perfection, and I'm only really attracted to projects and people who have the ability, the option to be great. So it's the ability to reach excellence is kind of what draws me into a project or even working with individuals. So it's a tough one sometimes. I think perfectionism is always there, and I have to remind myself that that's not really attainable, but it's an
Yeah.
active reminder.
Do you find you hold people to these standards, projects to these standards? I'm just curious because part of me is thinking like, wow, to be in your life must be like a lot of pressure. You're expecting people, you're right. You're engaging with people. You see excellence. I'm thinking about your wife right now. And then if, like moments, like you're not your best. I'm just thinking about how does that impact the people that you've said, I see your greatness. I want to be in relationship with you. And then when they don't meet that standard, what does that look like?
That's the question. I think one of the good things is that it is very person specific. So I don't have this idealized version of what perfect or excellence looks like for everyone. It is very specific to that individual. So if I see what you're capable of and I see that you're working towards it, I always admire that. I'll encourage you. I'll try to help and remove those roadblocks. When I see somebody that has potential and just won't work towards it, it does rub me the wrong way. If I
Yeah.
see wasted potential, it's a struggle.
Yeah.
And you've got empathy and individualization at 11 and 12. So I feel like you can kind of hear that as you're saying it's individualized for each person. And I feel like that empathy maybe comes through. Do you claim 11 and 12?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it helps me in all the ways, like individualization. I'm also, in addition to being a strengths coach, I also coach track and field. So
Okay.
so I coach the local high school team, and it's all about seeing your individual potential, feeling where you are today and what you're capable of today and what excellence looks like today. When I start practices, I will always put that frame. And it's not about giving 100% of what you had at your best. It's 100% of what you have today. So what does excellence look like today if you're a little bit sore or you're under the weather? What can you reach towards today that's realistic, that still is you giving your all, but it's measured based on where you are today? So I do use individualization to kind of create that, flexible expectation.
Yeah, I absolutely love, Sarah, that you asked, do you claim that individualization? Because prior to that story, he was talking about if I spot it in you and if you don't take advantage of it, then we have a problem, right?
Yeah.
And it's that spotting that is that high. Individualization is number one for me, so I live in that box, right, where I'm always spotting the incredibly unique or amazing things everybody can bring to a specific situation, and I hear that in you. But we keep dancing around one other theme in your top 10 that we haven't talked about yet, and that's going to be competition. You're part of a track team. You're seeing people and pushing them to be better, but you're also pushing to get that polished thing done, maybe a little quicker than the people next to you. I mean, I hear competition just ping-ponging around all of these stories. But that's all guessing from me. And as you know, from a strengths coach, we don't want to guess. Let's hear it from you. How does that competition come in?
Competition is another one. Competition and maximizer. I want to be excellent and I want to be better than the next person.
Yeah.
And I want everyone who is committing to their journey to be better than the next person. And it's something that my wife actually points out for me and tries to remind me that everyone else isn't as competitive. Maybe they don't want to be better or don't want to be, at a whatever level you're envisioning for them. Maybe they don't want to work on that. Maybe they're okay where they are. And it's really difficult for me to accept that. Adding in my relator, it's really difficult for me to let those relationships, just kind of fizzle back a little bit. And it does play a point in my friendships, the relationships that I have. If I don't feel like you are striving to be the best version of yourself, it's hard for me to have a long-term human connection with you that I feel is beyond surface level.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's a
Well,
really
and
vulnerable place,
I would
thing to
tell
say.
you,
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I would tell you, Echo, as well, that the thought process keeps going around in my mind. I can't care more than you do. So as I'm working with people, if you're not putting it in, if you're not doing it, but for me, that's from a relationship point of view. For me, I don't want to be overinvested and think we can do better and have you not just sit there and spin in the mud and it lets down the relationship side. For you, it sounds like it's more in that competition, the ability of individualization and all of that in influencing to say, well, we're not moving and I need to influence and move and I need to maximize. So I'm moving on. I'm going to be the honeybee that goes to the next project or process. Would that be fair?
That part actually was a process for me. Being able to say, let's move on because this person has decided that this is their peak. Yeah. And that's from a professional setting, that's in a personal setting. I had to learn how to be okay with where people wanted to be, not where I saw they were capable of going.
Yeah.
And that's still a daily reminder and challenge and something I work on in relationships to make sure that I'm not putting my expectations of excellence based on what I see as their potential on folks.
Yeah, I could totally see that as an ongoing struggle because we're always making new relationships and developing the relationships we have. And I just have to say, from listening to you and looking at your strengths, I'm so not surprised that you're a coach, both professional as a Clifton Strengths coach and like a track and field coach. I feel like you were literally made to be a coach, like the way you see people and push them to be the best and be able to influence them, which is really cool. What I'm curious about as we think about perfectionism and the way you hold people to high standards, we've talked about, okay, if someone's not meeting that, being okay saying, I'm going to let that relationship kind of go. And so I'm not sort of holding them to standards that they're not willing to reach. For the relationships that you don't want to let go, how can you tell when you've pushed someone too far? Like, do you have any signals or triggers? And maybe it's depending on the person, but I'm thinking about good friends, your wife, maybe your parents or siblings or whatever that looks like. These people that are maybe really important to you. Do you ever say, oh, I think I was pushing them when they didn't want to be pushed? And how do you know when the maximizer has gone too far?
Oh, it's usually not very subtle. It's usually there's usually a body language change if they're not very verbal, or they communicate. It kind of spawns a small argument, and it's like the quintessential teen coming of age movie. It's like, I don't want to be what you want me to be, Dad. It's that kind of thing. Like it's the football coach pushing the athlete. So you have that moment of pushback, whether it's just in the body language or the feeling, and you have to, the empathy helps me just kind of recognize, like, okay, this is a button for them. Let me not worry about that. Let me just invest in the connection that we have and worry about not trying to push them somewhere else, because technically that's not really our job. That's not the nature of my relationship with you. You didn't hire me.
Right.
You're not my client. We can just let that go. But I might revisit it from time to time.
Yeah, I think that's hard. I don't know if you guys think this, but I find the profession that we have all found ourselves in as strengths coaches, we're out here helping people. I have a real hard time sometimes not pushing and coaching the people in my personal life, because sort of similar to you, Jamal, like I see potential in people and I'm a cheerleader and I feel like I can see 1,000 things that you could do to make your life better. Like if you come to me, I really have to embrace that sort of like, do you want a vent or do you want a solution? Because I can solution with you all day. And if you're feeling tired, well, I can list off 7 reasons why you're probably tired right now. It's a real hard battle not to give that to all of those personal relationships. Do you guys find that, or just me?
No, that's you. No, that's you, Sarah. No.
No filter over here.
That's that one. I can't turn it off either. It's always there in the background. My wife is actually really good at being one of the people who can like remind me, like, hey, they maybe not be looking for that for you. Like you could just relax. Like maybe they don't need to hear solutions from you. Maybe they're just talking.
Well, speaking about the relaxation part of this, as well as, and as we look at your themes, Gallup wouldn't say this, but I would think this. All the years that I think all of us have been coaches, we all form some opinions around all of the themes. And when I look at your top 10, the word that comes to mind for me if I had you as a client and I was trying to look at and understand how we were going to start working together, everything I see in that top 10 for you is, in my mind, fast. So adaptability, move, pivot, go, maximizer, push, go, run, communication, get it out, keep it moving, activator, go, jump on it, ideation, fast, popcorn brain, go, move, positivity, I'm here, let's hear it, let's go, right? Command, I will take it, let's run with it. Competition, I'm keeping to run with it. Woo.
He's making a really good point.
Build a room, right? Build a room, keep going. So, and then I look at the bottom of yours, and right at the bottom, I'm seeing consistency, discipline, focus. I mean, those are at the very bottom, which we tend to think of as really powerful, but maybe the slower thinking strengths where I have to put the time in to move there. You've obviously done pretty well as a coach. You've done some stuff to get moving. How do you have to slow down when you need to think about, is there a dynamic partnership in your life, or do you just make that huge pivot in some way and think, I've got to start dealing with belief or maybe relator and maybe slow it down a bit?
Well, that one's twofold, because that's something I had to recognize in myself early on. And in my career, I always had to find the right people to partner with. So I would always identify who is my strategic partner. Here's a great idea I have. Here's the first steps. Here's where I think we can go. Show me, look around the corners for us, poke holes in this. What else am I missing here? Help me see something else in this so we can make it great. This is actually where my Maximizer, I think, helps me, because my obsession with the excellence in it will allow me to deeply focus to get it to that point. So that's where I dial that up more than other strengths, because I don't have that consistency, but I am fully committed to making sure this is great. So making sure that I can set aside the time to do that. That's where it really comes to play.
I love hearing you say this, because as coaches, we know that people can make a lot of negative assumptions from a first glance at a report, right? So the deficit culture has shown us someone with your strengths, the first thing they could think is, I don't have any executing themes in my top 10. How am I going to get things done? And as coaches, we say, like, everyone does all the domains. Everyone executes. Everybody strategically thinks, right? Everyone builds relationships. So the way you're going to do that looks different. And what I love in your description, Jamal, is you're saying, like, yeah, I do get a lot of stuff done and I do it really well. And it doesn't matter that I don't have any executing themes in my top 10, because I've got this maximizer. And I imagine competition, like Brandon Miller was on our podcast this season and he talked about competition needing to prepare so intensely so they can win. And so it's like I imagine from what you're saying, like you are getting the things done that need to be done and you're doing them exceptionally well, but you're doing them from a place of maximizer competition and probably some strings of other things in there as well. And I just love that because it shows the audience you can be a highly successful executor with any themes. It's just going to be how you do that. It's going to look different for you.
Yeah, it's the commitment to excellence that makes me focus on the details and dive into the process because I know that excellence lies in the process. And that's something I learned from early on in athletics. You know, the difference between the world's, top 10% track athletes and the top 1% is the very fine details. Literally the difference between a small 1% angle degree on the angle of your foot. Like, how are you doing all the little things right? That's the difference between an Olympian and someone who's top 100. Those are the little things, and it's the same way when you're in the workplace. That's the difference between being great or being pretty good at that thing.
Yeah. And I just want to point out, Gallup will tell us the Clifton Strengths Assessment is a development tool. It is not a hiring tool. And I know all the coaches out there, you have clients that will say, but we can use it for hiring, right? Like are you okay with it? We're going to do it.
Right.
And
I see the power in it. Now I'm going to hire with it. Yeah.
And I just want to point out, this is why we don't do that. Because if you're like, I need a high achiever who's going to get stuff done, you're going to look for someone with those executing themes, right? Achiever, responsibility. You might pass on a Jamal thinking he's not going to be able to do it when he could be the thing that takes your team to the next level. That is why we don't use that as a hiring tool, folks.
One of the things that I tell people when they're building out their teams is really focus on the outcome and not the process.
Exactly.
Because if you have something you want someone to deliver, how they get there is where you need to be flexible. They may not do it the way you have always done it. And outside, I always give this disclaimer, outside of accounting, let's not be creative with your accounting. But everything
Unless
else.
you're my accountant, in which case, let's see if we can be a little creative.
That pool is a business expense. Yeah, but it's necessary to have that flexibility.
Don't tell Sarah that. Oh my God, they're on the edge.
my
They're on the edge
God.
of a pool. I don't know. This is.
I couldn't do a pool with small children. That's what frightens me. My kids are still little. Even with the swim lessons, I'm glad we don't have one. We only have to deal with that at Grandma and Grandpa's house.
Yeah. I will tell you, it has been the thing that has held me back. But our kids are 6 and 7 now. We've been in swimming lessons for 4 years. I'm going to get an automatic cover and an alarm that tells me if something's been in the water too long. Like, the paranoid person in me is with you.
Ready? Well,
but I do think it is a business expense. Now that we say creative accounting, I do
Clearly.
think I will be having many business meetings by said pools.
clearly, yes. I wrote off my whole backyard just for all of my business meetings. So,
I love that.
Jamal,
professor.
let's jump backwards for a sec. I'm curious on this one because you talked about dynamic partnerships and people you partner with, the people that you bring in to kind of think of those. And, we all kind of spot people and connect with them in different ways. So Sarah brings communication and a ranger in her top 10 that I don't. They're in my floor. But so, for instance, our partnership, when we see each other, we bring certain dynamic things that we really appreciate in each other. When you're looking at other dynamic partnerships with people, what are you looking for? Like, what are you looking for that, hey, help me slow down and focus and discipline? Or are you looking for that super go-go maximizer activator as well? When you're looking, what do you think you're drawn to?
Yeah, I would say high strategic, high analytical, people who can really dig into the details. And in those relationships, I have to set myself up and know that I'm bringing this to you and I'm allowing you time to process so that you can bring me the best answers back. So I always look for that. Like, how can you see a pathway to connect the dots? Because I might have a great idea for my ideation. I might have a great on-ramp, a great runway for us to get started. But what are all the different milestones and stops that we need to have on this? So I'm not necessarily a great project manager where I am detail to detail and phase and to-do list to task. But I am definitely here's the product vision, here's where we want to be. Now partner with me to map out what are the milestones and what do we need to do along the way. And I will remove impediments, I will push through any roadblocks. And together, those people who have those iterative personalities, if they understand me and I understand them and we kind of set that out up front, that's really powerful.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm curious what you would advice you would give, whether someone has Maximizer or someone is just a perfectionist, because that could come through a lot of strengths. And I'm curious what advice you would give to the perfectionist listening, because I think that perfectionism is sort of an epidemic in our society in some places with our high achievers, always thinking that they have to be perfect. And I think that can come from a place of fear, and it can be really paralyzing and exhausting. I think it can kind of suffocate people around them. Like perfectionism is really not possible. Like nothing's going to be perfect. So when you are coaching someone or a listener who is perfectionist, what advice would you give them to help them move to a better place mentally, socially, emotionally than being stuck on the perfect?
Yeah, you can't let perfect be the enemy of good. I think understanding what a perfect MVP, what that minimal viable product is going to be, like what's the perfect first step? What's the perfect thing that we need to get out to market and get feedback on? So if you set that bar to say, this is the best version of this today, I'm going to bring in my trusted advisors, get that feedback, and then we're going to work towards the next version of perfect. Sometimes it allows you to say, this doesn't have to be a finished product now.
Yeah.
It's like the inventor in the lab who doesn't want to put something out there until everything is perfect. And then you get this great big product that you put together and nobody wants it. Because at no point did you think about, I got it perfect, but is it actually solving a problem? Does it have a purpose?
Yeah.
So being able to connect with people who can be that sounding board and help you measure at each step of the way.
Well, the theory on that, always good. MVP, a wonderful idea. Can you talk to us for a second about when you've led a client to that end, or where maybe in your personal life you've gone to MVP and said, good, I got it. That's all I need. And I've got my Maximizer doesn't need to push this to the next level. Or have you really fought that struggle? Can you give us an actual working real world event where that you felt that? Because that talks about Maximizer versus perfectionism. So,
yeah, that's a perennial struggle. I will say one example from me. I was putting together a workshop where I had this great idea that I bounce around in my head and I iterate until it's good. And I put together this workshop, and my wife tends to be one of my trusted advisors. When you're an entrepreneur, you have a smaller squad, so you bring in the people who are there. And I was like, let me run through this with you. And in that MVP, we were able to see, she was able to pull out a lot of questions because she has high strategic, futuristic, individualization. She's got a lot of really good ones that I don't. So, and it was able to cover a lot of the bases and say, well, here's a question I have. Well, what about this? What about that? What are we trying to get out of this? What are our key takeaways? So that gave me an opportunity to take that back and go back and be a little bit more creative and add in new activities, think about where I could pivot in those workshops. Did the same thing with like a lot of marketing in my previous life. I did a lot of work with like growth marketing, go-to-market strategy. And I would come together with a great campaign idea. Here's the bones. Here's what I think is going to be a really good thing. And I would bring it to one of my trusted partners. And he had a really high strategic and was always the person who could say, have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? Here are the compliance risks that we need to think about. Let's add this in and, come back to the drawing board. I think we're in a really good spot, but it's a great idea. You do need to have somebody you trust so they can start with hey, that might be a good idea or not.
Well, you mentioned trust. You also have to have somebody where you see that idea as a good one. Like if I hit you with 5 strategies around this thing you're bringing me and they all kind of tank or, they suck in their own way, I imagine that's pretty demotivating for you.
Oh, 100%. I actually have a lot of ideas that I just won't bring to the forefront if I don't feel like they're good enough or ready to have a conversation about. So I tend to try to filter on my own to hope that what I'm bringing is the best version of that starting. And then from there, we can get some feedback.
Do you find when people are those strategic partners that you enlist for their help and feedback, do you find when they give it to you, your Maximizer is really accepting of it? Or do you find that competition and command can sometimes I'm going to say battle, but I mean it in a good way of are you sort of challenging, well, yeah, I already thought about this. Here's this reason, and kind of, perfecting it to a different level? Or do you kind of just take it in and accept it?
I challenge while processing and accepting. That's a really great question because you'll get the feedback and your initial thought is, no, it's already great.
Yeah.
This is it. We're good. And as you start to talk through and respond to the questions they have, you recognize the holes and you say, okay, that's a great question. Let me go back and make sure I make note of that, add that. But there's always the initial resistance because you're going to be really close to an idea that you felt was
Yeah.
good enough to bring to a person, especially with Maximizer.
Right, right. Yeah, that maximizer's like, no, I'm bringing this to you because it's good. And
Yes.
I would be curious with like with your strengths, if you're ever like, hey, I'm bringing this to you because it's good. What do you think? And you're kind of, if I'm just projecting, so you're welcome to reject this idea, but kind of maybe thinking like, please give me compliments about how great it is. And then when they're like, what about this? I could see being like, no, it's great. You were just supposed to look at it and say, wow, that was a great idea.
You know, I've some of the people I enlist for their feedback when it's in that spot, they are very much, improv minded. There's a yes and. Like, this is good, and let's add this. Like, this is a good starting point, and have you thought about that? So
Yeah.
they've learned how to give feedback to me and really just to others. They're really, really good at that.
Yeah.
Let's get personal on that for a second. Talk about your marriage. How about Maximizer, right? Is that you guys sometimes come into that, or what are her strengths? What is she bringing to that? And how do those bump into each other? Or maybe Maximizer is the fuel that got you exactly where you need to be.
Bill, are you just trying to bring your own marriage into this
I am
conversation?
not, actually, no.
Bill is
No,
married to a maximizer, listeners. Bill is married to a
I am
maximizer.
a fantastic Maximizer. She will always drive, and that's great. And how does it work on your side?
Yeah, I said in the beginning, my wife calls me a 100%er. So she knows that if I'm doing something, interested in it, committed to it, I'm going to be all in. And that could be as simple as we're at an event and I'm going to be the person who stays until we close because I want to get every single connection I can out of that with my woo and Maximizer. Or if I'm committed to, a civic organization, she knows that I'm going to volunteer at every one of those things. So for us, it caused a rub, especially in that middle space right before we were really getting to that transition to have children. I was way too committed to too many things. And because I'm committed, I'm 100% in and 100% out. So I had several board, commitments that I was on. And she was like, you've got to choose something. You've got to start to whittle this down. What's going to be your thing? You can't do 5. Let's pick one.
Right.
And it took me a while to really understand, like, oh, this is a challenge for her. This is also a commitment for too much of our time. So how do I commit to the thing that I can actually do at my best, give them everything, and then move and just kind of protect that time. So that always caused a little bit of a rub. So she's really good at calling me on that, and I've been really good at learning to receive it.
That's a great description. How old are your children?
My girls are 8 and 5, so I'm a girl dad through and through.
Okay, so do you see the maximizer come out as a dad? 8 and 5-year-olds. I mean, is your 5-year-old in kindergarten yet?
She just started kindergarten, so we are on that journey, riding the bus. It's adorable and terrifying.
All right. My kids, I have twins that are 6, 2 girls, and a boy that's 7. So I'm right there with you age-wise. And our twins also started kindergartner, so we're at the same sort of parenting junction. I'm feeling like, so I'm curious, right? They're getting in school, probably involved in activities. Do you find, as a dad, how does that perfectionism, maximizer, kind of, how do you straddle that line as you're trying to push them to be the best versions of themselves, or do you?
I'm a little bit more flexible as a parent. And part of that comes from having spent many of my early years as an athlete. And I had so many teammates whose parents put them in things and pushed them for their vision very, very early on. And they forced this, you're going to be a football player, you're going to be a Olympian in track and field. And those kids, almost to a person, got to college, got D1 scholarships, and burned out after the first year.
Yeah.
And so the one thing that I've always kept in the forefront and for my kids is, I want you to do the things that you seem to be good at, that you're interested in. Let's try it, but let's find your thing before we try to focus on any one thing and push you in it. We're going to try to be good at whatever we do. So if you sign up for it, we're going to go after it. We're going to give it your all.
100%.
Give it 100%. And if that doesn't work out after that season, we can, transition. But I'm not going to force my vision of your life. I just want to make sure you know what it is to try hard, be at your best, and find the areas where you're really good and keep pouring into those.
Yeah.
It almost sounds like, from a family point of view, you're willing to float to the top those relationship themes. When it's a family component, you're all about, let's look at empathy and individualization. Let's keep the positivity here. Let's do the relator. Let's understand that you have a different feeling about this. And that's fantastic. From a parenting point of view, I actually am picking up my totally different stage here. I'm picking up my 13-year-old grandson today, one of 14 grandchildren. So I'm picking up my 13-year-old from school today and taking him to play golf because he just started playing golf and he absolutely loves it. And he's a great athlete. He's a wonderful quarterback, wonderful arm, good body mechanics. So his golf is actually pretty good. And he's lately been calling me to say, hey, I love golf. Love it. Love it better than basketball, baseball. I don't know about football yet. We'll see. Can we keep doing it? And it just tugs that relationship component in me. I absolutely want to be there for you. He said, you don't have to drive all the way to my school and pick me up. I'll take the bus home. And I'm like, no, take your bag to school. I'll pick you up right at 2. We'll get an extra 5 holes in that way. And we'll make, I want to push that with him. So I hear you when you say it's the relationship side. But then I rely on him to book it with me. He's got to call me because I realize, again, I can't care more than you do. I will end up calling him all week and say, let's go. And he's like, oh, I can't this weekend. And he kind of called me yesterday and he said, hey, Saturday, Sunday, I'm busy with my dad. I'm going to go do some stuff and I'm doing this and that. And I was a little, gosh darn it. I lost the relationship moment. He goes, but I could play Friday afternoon if we could fit it in. And I was like, oh, now you're talking my story, right? I'll come to school. Mm-hmm. Let me get it. Let's make it happen. So I love that you bring the relationship side up when you're thinking of the kids, the family, the wife, that end. Is that how you see that, as that relationship being floated at that point? Or is it really just pure influencing with the kids where you influence to the point you should step back?
That one's a really good balance. First of all, the world needs more grandparents like you. Speaking as a parent with younger children, we need more grandparents who are jumping in there because the journey is hard in those early years. You know that firsthand.
It is. Yeah. And by the way, I was adopted. My mother was adopted. I wasn't. My mother was adopted, and my grandfather, my adoptive grandfather, was the number one person in my whole life. So I came into all of these situations thinking, no matter what your relationship is when you came in, you can be that person. So thank you for the acknowledgement, but you're absolutely right. If you're listening to this, I don't care if you're a stepfather, an adopted parent, you can make a difference if you're willing to be there and be there for the kid, in my opinion. So
just show up and care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, so go on. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, for my kids, I will say that my wife has high relator and individualization, top 5. So those are really, really helpful that they give us a really good balance because she will see things in the kids that I may not see as early. And she'll say, they seem like they're good at this, but I think they really care more about that thing. So she helps me kind of filter, and because, my Maximizer still won't turn off. Like, I want my girls to start playing golf because I see their coordination. I see what they can do. They're very cerebral. Like, you're going to be good at this. But she's like, hey, one thing at a time. This is where they really seem interested in. They actually just want to dance. They don't care about that. But they're really out there just playing with their friends.
They just want to dance.
I coached my daughter's soccer team for the first 3 years. And one of the things that I learned is that, some kids just want to get out there and do cartwheels and pick dandelions.
Oh, yeah.
So you learn which kids are coming back to you for feedback. Like, Coach, how'd I do? How's it going? So I had a chance to, measure those expectations. So I try to bring that and lean on my wife to be that person at home to see the individual components of what my girls are really interested in.
Yeah. Jamal, I lead a coaching group through our local community called Strong as a Mother. We have had a father in it before, but it's basically helping mothers, parents understand how their Clifton strengths show up in parenthood and in their motherhood or fatherhood. And what is so fascinating is a lot of the people who are in my group have used strengths professionally. And then when we sit down and say, how does this show up at home? How does this influence you, who you are as a parent, which is always evolving. I mean, everything is always changing. Our professional lives are evolving too. But when you think of parenting, you go like every stage of your kid, they're changing. And then you add multiple kids, so you've got different stages, right? And so how you're showing up for them, it's evolving so much. And I just always find it fascinating to see the people in the group like open their mind, like, whoa, at work my communication shows up this way, but then like at home that's barely even showing up. I'm leaning on these things, and like it unlocks potential, because people will say, oh my God, what if I actually use my strategic at home? What would that look like? And just the way that we've sort of like, we don't realize these are our talents everywhere. And so to like analyze yourself professionally and then personally, and personally you could do like with your children. If you're a parent, you could do it with your parents. How are you dealing with your parents, right? With your friends. It's so interesting. These talents are coming up, but they really kind of shapeshift depending on the environment. And a lot of times we only intentionally use them at work. So it's like, wow, if you intentionally think about how they show up at home, which I think a lot of us strengths coaches are doing that. But for the audience who's listening, it's like, yeah, take a second and go through your top 5 or your top 10 and say, how does this show up for me in parenthood? You might be surprised to see what you're using and what you're not using. And you might be able to unlock some tips and tricks for yourself to make things a little bit easier. Because at work, I always talk about, hopefully you're in a job where you can try to be your best, right? Hopefully if you're working for someone, they say, hey, we want you in the right seat on the bus. We want you to do the things you're the best at, and the other stuff we'll delegate to other people. That's what we're looking for. And a lot of times we can do that, especially for businesses and organizations who are utilizing strengths. They want everyone to do the thing in their lane. But at home, you kind of have to do everything. You might hate it, but you have to do it. No one else is there. Like, you and your partner have to figure out bath time. You have to figure out bedtime. You have to figure out who's going to sign up for all the school stuff and add money to the lunch thing and all of these things. And you might all hate that. So it's really interesting to think, how do I engage my talents to do more and parent more the way that I am? And how do I manage all the things that suck?
Wow. Can I just say today's Sarah Soapbox moment provided by Collins. We are Collins Collective. So really well said, Sarah. And as a parent, I hear that. I've talked to you off and on. We've been able to discourse on those and feel really good. I don't know your kids, like we've never met, all of that. But as a mother, just the fact that you're willing to lead that group and ingratiate that with all of them and hear them out and hold that space for them. I have to imagine that's an incredible learning and ideation, like production tool for them as well. So kudos to you on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I love that. Parenting is
just sending out
thankless job.
subtle loves.
It
subtle
is a
loves.
thankless job.
And
Well, let's talk about subtle loves for a second, Jamal. We're gonna come into a part of our show where we talk about a couple of ways that you're gonna come at us with some ideas around your strengths. So let's start with your firework moment today. Give me one or maybe two of your themes where you are all over it, right? It might be Maximizer, but we've covered a lot of themes today. Mm-hmm. So when you're in that flow, when you're hitting on all levels, when the fireworks are going off and the sparklies are there and you're feeling it and everyone around you is, what themes at play for you?
Yeah, I think communication is something that I have spent my whole career, my whole life really working at. It wasn't something that was as natural to me early on. And, I was a little bit shy as a kid. It's kind of hard to believe now. But communication is one of those where I love to tell stories, be on a stage, communicate with folks, and represent organizations. And I usually pair that a lot with my adaptability. So if you need to do it last minute, I got your back. Like, let's hop on the stage tomorrow. I can pinch hit for whoever can't do the thing. I'll get out there and make it happen. So communication is a big one. But for me, communication is also one that I've had to be cognizant of and make sure that I'm dialing it down intentionally. So that part of communication for me is actively creating space for others where I would have taken the microphone. So in those meeting spaces, that's a big one for me. Command is one that's also high up there for me. I just naturally will start going. My friend group is hilarious because they've talked about me since we were in college together, and they will just say, you've got this boundless confidence, and it's really just rooted in I have an idea that we're going this way. Things are going to work out. Like, let's start moving. And even if we'll be in a foreign country, and I'll just say, yeah, we're going this way. I don't know. My map's not working. My phone battery's dead, but we're going this way. It's going to be okay.
I see that command and positivity structured together right there. And they're next to each other, right? Where you're like,
and that
it'll work out.
adaptability, don't worry,
Yes.
it's gonna be
Yeah.
fine.
It's going to work out. We're going this way. It's going to be okay.
It's good.
Yes,
No matter what.
and taking the command is saying, no, we're going this way. This is the way. Everybody follow me. We're going
is
to
the
dinner
way.
now, and we're going down this street.
And we're going to find something great. It'll be fantastic. We're all going to love it. And positively, all of us having that positive energy fuels and motivates you. So you are that rudder. And by the way, even on this podcast, your communication shows through in huge waves, Jamal. So thank you for having that and bringing that to us. So, but you don't get off the hook that easy, right? We know when the fireworks are happening, and now we're curious about the dumpster fire. So, when have some of your themes or one of them lead you into that dumpster fire where you're like, oh, I had no idea this was going to happen, and I wish I could have avoided this nightmare mess. Which themes at play for you at those moments in your life?
I will say that simultaneously, my superpower with adaptability is I can be flexible in any moment, but I will procrastinate to no end. And that's where I think a dumpster fire will show up for me, because I assume that I have more time to make something happen, and now I'm in a crunch, and now I'm pulling an all-nighter to make something happen. And I need the right people to say, hey, let's get started early, because otherwise, if it's left to my own devices, sometimes I'll wait until the last minute.
Ooh, and I could see that Maximizer and adaptability really going toe-to-toe in a big fight there.
Banging heads, right? Yeah.
I'm going to wait till the last minute, and even though I waited till the last minute, I expect it to be excellent when I do. It doesn't make any actual
Not
sense.
an unrealistic expectation at all.
Not at all, right?
I see that adaptability and activators like squirrel.
Yes.
Another squirrel. Wait, we can. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, and ideation. Ooh, do you feel
Yes.
like you start a lot of things and then you're like, oh, now I have to make all of these perfect? Are you able to let go of things that you started with that ideation, activator, adaptability?
I also have a lot of tabs open. So yeah, I start a lot of things, and I feel like I'm going to come back to them, and they will, hopefully, in the best case scenarios, I let some of them go long enough to focus on the most important things. But I always leave things kind of going because I don't want to lose my place where this idea was.
Yeah.
So I have a notebook full of different ideas, workshops, all kind of things that I just like to do. Some of them I haven't done. Some of them I haven't even planned to do or have a place to do it. But it's just an idea. Like I will get woken up in the middle of the night and can't go back to sleep until I write down some ideas.
Yeah. Do you find, sorry, I know we're trying to wrap up, but I'm so curious. Do you find that sometimes with all those ideas, you will prioritize the one that has the most visibility? I'm just thinking with all these influencing themes, right? Like, okay, I have these great ideas. Well, this one has more visibility in the world. People are going to see it. It's going to have a big impact, or, whoever is maybe a big organization. Do you find they'll be like, oh, put all these on the back burner because now this one has more whatever influencing power? Does that happen?
Absolutely. That is spot on. And I think I also frame that because that also has the opportunity to do the greatest good. If it can be the biggest thing, it can have the biggest impact. If it has the most visibility, it can reach more people. I can do more of the things that I'm meant to do with it. So those will get priority. Or, sometimes if we have competing interests, I have a smaller group and a larger group, the audience of 100 people might get priority first over the audience of 7.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's both, I imagine, firework moments and dumpster fire moments, right? Like, it's all kind of the same depending on which group you're in.
Yeah.
Yeah, what we were trying to accomplish there. So,
yeah.
Well, Jamal, you've definitely proved one thing. We need to have total strangers on the podcast more often.
I know. I love it. I feel like my curiosity is on fire with you, Jamal, and you have been great at receiving it. All of these influencing themes, that high communication, and just the awareness, the self-awareness of that maximizer. It has been an excellent representation for the pod. So I am just so grateful that you took the time to be with us today.
I really appreciate you guys having me. It's been a blast. We can talk strengths or anything or parenting or grandparenting anytime.
And I love doing it. Sarah and I compare notes when we're in the background of this about parenting, co-parenting. Generally, we're picking on each other. I think that's probably part of the relationship. But always having another voice would always be helpful in that, especially with you two having such age aware and similar children in that. So that's that's something we may take you up on, Jamal. That'd be awesome. So
Yeah, we'll do a Gen Alpha strength series.
we'll do it.
Love
We'll do
it.
Great. Now I'm gonna tune in one day and I'll see a Jamal and Sarah podcast on parenting. I'll be like, oh, great.
You're going to be like, I'm not hurt. I'm not hurt.
You're going to be our first guest. You're going to
not.
be our special mystery guest every time.
Exactly. What does parenting look like from the grandfather side, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Parenting on fire? Is that what
Parenting on fire, which honestly is a great representation because I do feel like that signals how great and terrible it is. My parenting does feel on fire most of the time and not in a good way.
yeah, parenting's like the movie, right? Everything, everywhere, all at once. That's it.
So good. Well, Jamal, thank you so much for all of your time today. It's been absolutely a joy to have you on, and it's been great to meet you since we hadn't met previous to this. So thank you very much for coming on.
I appreciate you having me. It's been a fantastic, I don't know how much time we've been talking, but it's been a minute, and it's
Literally
been a
like
pleasure.
1 hour. We've
Absolutely.
been a great hour.
Yep. If I can wrap this up in the next 30 seconds, it's a 1 hour episode. So we are there. So Jamal, again, thank you very much. Loved having you there. For you and for all of our arsonists today, we thank you so much for being here and being honest, sharing, and listening and jumping in with us. So with that, I think, we have to wrap it up with we'll talk soon.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on Strengths on Fire. If today's conversation sparked something in you, be sure to subscribe, share, and leave a review. We're here bringing you fresh insights to fuel your growth and ignite your potential. Remember, your strengths are powerful, so let's keep the fire burning.
And if you're looking to transform your organization through strengths-based strategies and coaching, reach out to Sarah Collins, founder of Collins Collective, or Bill Dipple, founder of Bill Dipple Strengths Coaching. Connect with Sarah at wearecollinsco.com, follow her on Instagram at SarahCoachCollins, or email her at sarah@wearecollinsco.com, SARAH. You can reach Bill at BillDipple.com, Bill, DIPPEL.com, or on Instagram at BillDippleCoach, or email him at bill@BillDipple.com.
Please note the opinions, views, and interpretations of Clifton Strengths expressed in this podcast are solely those of the hosts and the guests. They have not been approved, sanctioned, or endorsed by Gallup in any way.
Until next time, keep your strengths on fire and let's light up what's possible together. Bye, Bill.
Bye, Sarah.